like a lot of Hammer horror films have a black mask, and it was always my favorite thing. You'd be flipping around and be like, ooh, nice goat's head, woohoo, and then I'm hooked.
If you just break it down to what happens in the movie, it's pretty simple, but it's the way he tells it.
Right.
I came in completely blind to this movie, but I would say it was. I'm still shocked.
Welcome. In case you didn't know, this is Fright Club. Live at Gateway Film Center, and she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we're from madwolf.com, and I did see at least a few new faces here tonight, so if you didn't know, we do this podcast once a month before we show one of the movies that we talk about in our Fright Club podcast, so welcome. I will say we'll try to keep the level of enthusiasm up. I'm playing a little hurt tonight. The sinuses have got me bad. They got me bad. So this podcast is sponsored by Hall's Cough Drops and beer, which could be a lethal combination. I don't know. We'll find out. But we have
George is getting loopy.
Remember that time years ago I mixed NyQuil and Sudafed.
Which is my entire high school years. I was like, oh, go ahead. It's not going to be any problem.
Climbing
like,
off the
walls. Oh, my God, I'm
walls.
so high. I'm like, right? Oh, is that not what you wanted? Oh.
But I digress. Welcome. We got a great movie to show tonight, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, the ones that haven't seen it. And we're going to talk about satanic horror, which is a big topic.
It's a big topic and one of my favorites.
Right. But we're gonna narrow it down and talk about a few of our favorites. But before that, we want to say thank you to, well, you go ahead for some thank yous.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Brandon Thomas, who is here today, and also the Schlocketeer, Daniel Baldwin. And if you don't know this, we have another podcast. It's called The Screening Room, and it's every Friday, and we just run down movie reviews of everything that came out that week. And Schlocketeer, Daniel Baldwin, is a part of that podcast every week. But he and Brandon joined us for the last Fright Club podcast for a topic that I stole directly from their Twitter conversation. I'm like, oh, that's smart. Let's do that. And we talked about really great horror movies made by mainstream filmmakers. And it was super fun. And it was so great to have them on, and they had such great things to say. So we really appreciate that.
And I think that was so great. I think that might have been the longest podcast. It was almost an hour.
It was.
And we don't do that. That's how smart you guys were.
That's right.
And I noticed we have him on, and then the next time he finally brings his wife.
That's
so
right.
Is that what we have to do to get you to share your friends?
Speaking of wife, congratulations, by the way, to D-Zach and Katie, who were here for the first time as a married couple.
Yay!
Yay!
Glad to see you, Mr. and Mrs. And by the way, since we're talking about horror movies, which is what we do, there's a fun new horror movie out this week. Who's seen Barbarian? Isn't that fun?
Was it just nuts? It was crazy.
We were just talking earlier.
Well, Tyrone saw 15 minutes of it.
We were talking earlier in Happy Hour about movies that go somewhere that you don't think they're going, and boy, this one does. Because, like, if you just watch the trailer, you think, okay, I got a handle on that. No, you don't.
Nope.
And if you watch the first really half an hour of the movie, you think, okay, I got a handle on this.
Nope.
No, you don't. And
nope.
It was a lot of fun.
I defy you at the end of the movie. Yeah, I knew that was what it was going to do. You did not. You're lying.
So, yeah, check it out. Barbarian. That is a fun one.
It is fun.
But what else we got? We got, Satanism and horror. Yeah, that's a big topic. In fact, that's your book that's out now. Roost is a lot about that.
That's true.
The Satanic Panic.
The Satanic Panic. It is. It's a topic. Even when I was a kid, it was like, I think like a lot of Hammer horror films have a black mask, and it was always my favorite thing. You'd be flipping around and be like, ooh, nice goat's head, woohoo, and then I'm hooked. So it's always been a topic that I have found fascinating in horror movies, and usually quite silly. Like, I never find those movies scary as a general practice. But some of these are scary, and the more you dig into them, the better they are. But there are so many that I actually made a list of the ones that we're not going to talk about, but you should still see. Ready or Not, that was great.
Yeah.
How fun is that movie? Blood on Satan's Claw, that is a classic. Brotherhood of Satan. This is like the third time in a row that I have wanted to put Brotherhood of Satan on a podcast. I don't think we've ever actually talked about it. I just keep talking about it. Don't Deliver Us from Evil. That's from the 70s. It's a nutty 70s movie. The Seventh Victim. That is our classic, 1943. The Sentinel, of course. The Devil Rides Out. Speaking of Hammer. House of the Devil.
Greta Gerwig. That's Greta
right.
Gerwig for that one.
Satanic Panic. And then a special call out for a short film that you should see if you haven't, called Born Again. Jason Tostevin's movie is hilarious. So those are all the ones that we're not going to tie. They didn't make the list. but I think that you should see.
So there were any, I guess with a topic like that, there's not too many rules. It just has to be.
Satanism.
Does there have to be a black mass involved?
No.
Sorry about that, Black Mass fans. We got five good ones and a really
Just
good.
as a side note, I
show.
said that one time, like at lunch, like at a work lunch one time. I said, God, I love a black mass. And I swear every single person at the table thought I was talking about cancer. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What?
Wow.
Who loves cancer?
Wait.
And they said, who loves Satanism? So I guess fair enough.
Way to bring down the room. All right. So, well, usually when we have these Fright Club lives, we're up against the clock, so we should maybe get at it, you think?
Yeah.
All right. So let's start at number 5 for our favorite satanic horror. This is from 1995. Bent on committing as many sins as possible to avert the birth of the beast, a Catholic priest teams up with a black metal aficionado and an Italian connoisseur of the occult. Now he must become an unrelenting sinner. Is there still hope? Day of the Beast.
Padre, ¿podremos soportar esta cruz? Sí.
This one is from Alex de la Iglesia, who did The Last Circus, which we showed here, and is clearly nuts. As a filmmaker, this guy is just completely insane, and that's the best kind of filmmaker. And the movie is just silly fun, and just, as the one quotes it, just joyously blasphemous. It's so much fun.
Yeah, this is one that I thought of right away when he talked about being silly with these satanic rituals, which I guess, according to some, they use actual, quote-unquote, satanic rituals in this movie.
Which are silly anyway.
Exactly.
Satanism is silly, is what we're saying. Literally, we find it silly. And so I think that's one of the reasons why this movie is so fun, because it clearly does too. But it also finds Catholicism silly, which I also agree with. And unlike, I mean, just the opening, you know, on December 25th, 0000, Jesus was born. He wasn't actually born on December 25th at all, but fine. And that makes all of your math wrong, but whatever. As long as we're going to see a priest like reluctantly sinning in as many conceivable ways as he can come up with. Everything about it is really funny and really visually just frenetic in that very Alex de la Iglesias way. And it's just a wild ride that forever was incredibly hard to find. It was so hard to watch this movie. Currently, it is on Shudder, so watch it by all means.
Nice. This is one I think when we saw it. I remember the first time we saw it, I wasn't as big of a fan as you are, which happens a lot. But
sometimes I just jump right in.
But I can see why it's on here for sure, and that is 1995's Day of the Beast. Silly, but fun. So let's move up to, let's go back to the 80s for this one, number 4. I like this one better. A private investigator is hired by a man who calls himself Louis Safer to track down a singer named Johnny Favorite. But the investigation takes an unexpected and somber turn. Angel Heart.
Are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
I'll instruct my lawyer immediately to send you a check for $5,000. If you don't want the job, I'll engage someone else.
You must want this Johnny pretty bad, huh?
I don't like messy accounts. You know, some religions think that the egg is the symbol of the soul. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Would you like an egg?
You know, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but I remember being surprised. The character's name is Louis Safer. That's really not that subtle about where they're going.
Cruella de Vil. Don't let her dog sit. I love this movie. I love this movie from the first time I saw it. And I saw it originally not because I had a massive crush on Mickey Rourke, but because Alan Parker directed The Wall.
Right.
Pink Floyd's The Wall. Pink Floyd's my favorite band. The Wall was my favorite movie for I don't know how many years when I was a kid. And I was just like, both of those things? Yes. And also, De Niro plays Satan. Oh, my God. It's like it was custom made for me. And it's so good. I mean, the movies that I was watching at that time in my life, the movies that came out in the 80s, they were mainly terrible, right? I mean, they were mainly, pretty awful, especially the horror films. But this movie was like, it looked amazing. The story was really compelling. And then for a long time, you think to yourself, well, it's like going to be a thriller, and then, I mean, the actual murders and deaths are super gruesome, like really unsettling.
And then you remember it got all the headlines at the time because of Lisa Bonet.
Yeah.
This was her first movie, I think, at least after she came to stardom with the Cosby
quite a
Show.
film.
Yeah, and it's got that really that big sex scene, so that made a lot of headlines. But it opened the same day as Lethal Weapon, and it pretty much got buried at the box office. Yeah, it really didn't do anything, despite a lot of times when you get headlines like that, I got to go see.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work for this one. But I agree,
No.
it gets gruesome.
It does. It does. And do you know what? Actually, all of a sudden I'm remembering that I forgot one of the movies that we wanted to mention, and I haven't mentioned, speaking of the 80s. Our friend Ben reminded us of this movie called Spellbinder. Do you guys know that one? It's awful. It's absolutely terrible. And here's why Ben and I both remember it. They call out Seneca County, Ohio. These Satanists go, we have friends everywhere. We have friends in Ohio. We have friends in Seneca County. He and I are both from Seneca County, Ohio. And you watch it the first time, you're like, I'm sorry, what did they just say? What? And so anyway, I should have thought of that when we talked about Roost, because it's just confirmation that there are Satanists running through the cornfields of my hometown.
Uh-huh. Be a good topic for a book. So that's number 4, Angel Heart from 1977, our list of Satan's movies. Well, now we'll move up to number 3, and we're not going to say much about this because it's the one we're going to see tonight from 2015. 2 girls must battle a mysterious evil force when they get left behind at their boarding school over winter break. It's the Black Coat's daughter.
You do know about the sisters, don't you? They worship the devil.
Catherine, is there something wrong?
Why are you doing this?
Do you believe in God, Joan? Ever tried to look for him? I look for him in the unlikely things that happen. Little coincidences.
Diddle, diddle, black coat's daughter, what was in the holy water?
So how many people have already seen this? Okay, a few.
A lot of people haven't.
But a lot of people have not, and that's
Yeah,
good. That's
it
why
is
we're not
good.
going to say too much about it.
We're not. Only this. This is a movie that you want to just watch everything that happens. It's like a picture book in that what they sort of tell you directly only makes up about half of the story. The other half of the story is in visuals. A lot of the narrative takes place in the visuals. So just make sure you're paying attention.
It's another indication of the director.
I know you will, but I'm just telling you anyway.
The director is Oz Perkins, and
Right.
he's such a great visual storyteller.
Yeah, he really is.
Like in his other movie, Gretel and
Hansel.
Hansel.
Oh my God.
And then I'm the
I'm
pretty
the
thing,
pretty thing that lives in the
house. He's a very, very good visual storyteller. So yeah, just pay attention, and we love to get your thoughts after, as always. Come down, and we'll get you on the podcast talking about what you think about the movie, because it's a really great example of visual storytelling. And it was one that, I did want to mention, it's not going to spoil anything. Oh, Mike Flanagan. We like Mike Flanagan. He lists this as one of his favorite horror movies.
Nice.
So yay.
Also, he's Anthony Perkins' son.
Right.
That's worth mentioning, Oz
right.
Perkins. And Elvis, his brother, does who's a musician, does the score.
And Emma Roberts, who's one of the stars, said she read the script and couldn't sleep afterwards because it scared her so much. So, all right, that's really all we're going to say.
That's right.
But we'll talk afterwards about the Black Coat's daughter.
1 hour and 33 minutes later.
What was in that holy water? I think that's an excellent question. Well, what'd you guys think?
Okay.
Not
Good.
everybody. Not everybody's bag, maybe.
You smell nice.
Right?
I love the way he used focus to draw the attention away or focus it on people. I mean, like sometimes it was just hard focus on the front character, and then all of a sudden in the background is totally empty. And it also explained why she had the bullet hole scar on her back.
Yeah. One of my favorite
Yep.
shots in the movie is Lucy is kind of in the background, and essentially the camera is just sitting here. It's in focus, and she has to walk into the focus. It's there are so many fascinating shots in this movie, and also I love that the character that you think is going to be sketchy turns out to be just a super nice dude. And everybody that you kind of think you're sympathetic toward, like in the whole movie, everybody you're sympathetic toward is bad, and everybody you're like, nope, Totally nice.
Oh, yeah, I remember the first time we saw it, I thought Bill was,
for sure. Bill Remar, because when was the last time he was a good guy?
James Remar, yeah.
James Remar, sorry, yeah.
I thought he was up to no good. But, yeah, and it's funny because when you think about it, if you just break it down to what happens in the movie, it's pretty simple. But it's the way he tells it.
Right.
With nine years backwards and forwards. And, it's really effective. I'm always impressed by people that are visual storytellers. And
Agreed.
He is one.
This movie always, when by the end of it, the first time I saw it, I thought, it's kind of a sequel to why can't I think of the name of it, with the scary bunny?
Oh, Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko. Thank you very much. That it was kind of a sequel to Donnie Darko in my own warped imagination.
Okay, I could see that. Have we seen the girl that played Kat gone on to do anything else?
Yes, she's Sabrina in all of the Witch TV series.
Oh,
she
well,
also
I missed
was in
that.
Mad Men originally. I don't know how you missed, because she's got very noticeable eyes. She's got lovely big eyes with lots of brow and lash things happening.
I love the sound design. There's a whole just every single bit of it. Just how it was like its own character. It was like a separate character.
Yeah,
we love us some
absolutely
good sound
agree with that.
design.
Yeah, I know that you do.
What the fuck? Yeah. I came in completely blind to this movie. I just read on the website the girl's abandoned and darkness takes over. But I'll say it was I'm still shook.
But it's a good shook.
Oh yeah, it was amazing, I'll say. Yeah. Did I see that right? Is the devil impersonating an alpaca?
It does have an alpaca look, right?
Well, that's why you were thinking of Donnie Darko.
Exactly
with
why I
the
was
big
thinking
ears.
Donnie Darko. And the payphones, yeah. There's something so menacing in a horror movie about a payphone.
But overall, the people that anybody didn't like it. Katie, kind of iffy on that?
4, not 3, not 5. Katie thinks that 4 scenes got cut that made the movie not make sense. All right.
I like the specificity.
Okay.
Specificity.
Specificity. I think that Lucy was way too good looking for her boyfriend. I'm like looking at the guy going, is that just one brow? What's going on there? You let that guy knock you up? Oh my God. And then I kept thinking also, is it a Catholic boarding school? Because I know at the end, right, there's a whole exorcism happening, which I feel like is exclusively Catholic, but I don't know if that's true. But everybody else, I'm like, there's just miss? They say miss? I never heard, and I have a lot of experience with this, I never heard anybody refer to a nun as miss, ever. So
how about one of the maybe nuns? Was that corduroy? Was it a corduroy
yeah, I've never
bibs?
seen a nun in corduroy either.
You have now.
That would actually be pretty fashionable for the nuns that I have known.
Fetching.
That's my next book, The Nuns That I Have Known.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming out. I'm glad you liked it. Some of you needed 4 extra scenes.
And if you haven't seen this filmmaker who did Gretel and Hansel, right? So the change of pace on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale, it was also really magnificent, and I think a little bit easier to follow, and just gloriously visual. Like another example of really incredible visual storytelling.
Always want to see what he's doing.
Oz.
Oz Perkins. Well, thank you guys.
Appreciate you very much.
Enjoy the rest of the A24.
That's right.
Retrospective. Here at Gateway. Yay.
Come back out next time for something far bloodier.
And it can't go without saying that the school that the girls are attending in The Black Coat's Daughter is called the Bramford School. And Bramford is the name of the apartment building in another classic film on this list, which leads us to number 2. This is a classic from 1968.
A young couple trying for a baby moves into an aging, ornate apartment building on Central Park West, where they find themselves surrounded by peculiar neighbors like Ruth Gordon.
Rosemary's Baby.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
He has his father's eyes.
What are you talking about? Guy's eyes are normal. What have you done to him, you maniac?
Satan is his father, not Guy. Hail Adrian! Hail Adrian! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
One of my favorite things, I mean, this movie is a masterpiece in every conceivable way, the way it looks and the casting and the story and how closely it stays to the novel. And it's just an incredible, impeccable piece of filmmaking. But one of my favorite things about it is the Satanists themselves.
Right.
Is just how they're just frumpy. They're just, you just think, you know what I mean? You think Satanists, I mean, they're like akin to vampires. They're like so stylish and elegant and European and oh wow, with the robes, the flowing robes. And there's so much nudity usually and virgins and whatnot. And then these guys, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Are they playing canasta? What's going on right now? I think that is hilarious. And of course, Ruth Gordon, oh my God.
She's so great and so weird. That's why parts of Hereditary reminded me of this movie in the way that the people around them who have a secret plan that, of course, the main people involved don't know about, and slowly it gets closer and closer and is revealed, which is kind of how this is.
Yeah.
And it also reminded me of The Exorcist, I think, is similar in the way it's a slow burn.
Yes.
It takes a while to get at it, which I don't think a lot of movies have moved away from that now. And they get into things a little bit quicker. But
right.
man, you had to invest in it.
You did.
But it'll pay off in the end.
Yeah, and I think, Mia Farrow, she's such just the picture of vulnerability in this movie. She's so frail, she's so skinny, and then as the belly gets bigger, but the rest of her stays skinny, and she gets more gaunt, and then she cuts her hair off real short. When she's like in the phone booth and she's talking to the doctor, and you're so desperate for her because you just think with that belly, she's not going to get where she needs to go. Yeah. It really is. It's an incredible, and there are some real humorous moments thanks to Ruth Gordon.
Right.
But also because of the way Mia Farrow's performance and her look in the movie, it's incredibly tense,
because she's such a small person anyway, and then you add that big belly, and she just looks so vulnerable. You're right.
Like that big sort of blue house dress and things. Yeah. It's just not a great look, but it's not supposed to be.
And then they made that very wise decision because apparently they were going to try to show all the actual baby with some sort of doll or something, but smart move, they did not. Because it's always better, especially back then, because you don't know what the effects are going to be. But just leave it up to the imagination.
Right, but I'm just picturing the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead zombie baby, and that was the worst moment in that film.
I'm picturing the little baby from Twilight.
Oh, God.
That's nightmare fuel. So that's Rosemary's Baby, because, we're up against the clock. We got to get moving. That is number 2 on Satan Horror. And, boy, one of our favorites.
We have tons of time.
Is number 1. Do we?
Yeah.
One of our favorites is number 1, and this is from 2015. A family in 1630s New England is torn apart by the forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession. The Witch.
This wilderness will not consume us.
Who's there?
You've cursed this family. This is witchcraft.
She placed a curse on me!
Why have you turned against me?
I saw it.
Your reign of evil! It's not safe, not with them!
Think on thy sins.
First introduces to Robert Eggers.
Yes.
First introduces to Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes.
And, man,
we'd never seen Game of Thrones, because it's also the first time we saw Ralph Ineson or Kate Dickey. And if you don't know it, they are showing The Witch here at this Gateways Film Center tomorrow, so watch it.
Yeah, part of the A24 retrospective,
right.
which we're glad to be a part of with this movie
Black
tonight.
Ghost Daughter is part of the same
as well.
thing.
Yeah, it's just one of our favorites. But it can be polarizing. I remember we did a whole episode of this podcast with a friend of ours who did not like it at all.
Right.
We thought, okay, equal time, because
one of us didn't think that.
Because he thought the ending did not work at all. He didn't want it to be so literal.
No.
That didn't work.
That's
for
not
him.
correct. That's not correct. So it was our friend John who didn't want it to be actually. He wanted the friend who was on the show, Mike. He wanted the whole thing to be more of a horror movie. That's what he didn't. He didn't think it was a horror film. And
Okay.
I think that's where the continuum was. There were a lot of people who felt like it didn't count. It wasn't horror. Not enough horror happened. And then there were a lot of people who thought it was going to be more like The Crucible and were unhappy that it was in fact a supernatural film. And then everybody who was smart just loved it because it's a masterpiece of a film. And if you haven't seen it, I apologize because this is probably going to be a spoiler. The thing that I found the most impressive of the millions of things about this movie that I found impressive was that by the end of the movie, because of everything that has happened and where Thomason is in her life, when she talks to that goat, you are hoping the goat talks back. That is an incredible feat of filmmaking because under no circumstances when you start watching a movie do you think, yes, I hope that goat is going to be Satan and is going to claim her soul. But you do. In this movie, you're like, that's her best bet. I hope that this works out for her and the goat.
Which is why I thought at the time it really spoke to how someone can be radicalized. And there's a lot of different ways to look at this film, but for me it was sort of a journey into radicalization. And also I would recommend watching it with the subtitles on. Because you pick up things like, oh, that's what they were saying. That adds a little bit to the experience.
Yes.
Because this is the first that we got to know Robert Eggers and how committed he is to authenticity,
yes.
about language, about, you may have heard he made sure the sets were built with only tools that could be found at the time.
Yeah.
And he based all of this
Which
on
is
actual written down recollections of folk tales and things that people talked about Satanism and witchcraft at the time. It's so authentic. And yeah, I just think it's I know we both do. I just think it's just a masterpiece.
Yes, absolutely. It's just, it's one of the best films of the 2000s.
Yeah, for sure. And it's showing, you say it's showing
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Double feature with The Lighthouse.
Oh, 2 Robert Eggers back
That's right.
to back. How awesome is that?
Gotta go.
That is great.
Let's all meet back here tomorrow.
Let's do it. So that's The Witch, number 1 on our list of Satanist horror. But keep in mind, we do want to talk to you about The Black Coat's Daughter when this is all over. Come down. And if you don't, by the way, if you're new and want to get a button, we got a Fright Club button down here, too,
pins.
afterwards. So we'll get the movie going here in just a couple of minutes. And
Two quick things
to
tell
go
you.
right ahead.
So next month, we usually do this on the second Friday of every month. In October, we are going to do it the first Friday, specifically because that gives us the opportunity to premiere a film. So this will be the first chance on Earth that you will get to see Piggy.
Yeah, so from what we hear, we haven't seen it yet. We do have a copy at home.
Yes,
we haven't
we'll
watched
watch
it yet.
This weekend.
But
it's
we've
got
heard,
nothing but incredible buzz.
We've heard it's brutal.
Yes.
Brutal.
Brutal.
So
And
if
our
you like-
topic will be bullies and mean girls in horror movies.
Yeah. Let's hear it for the bullies.
That's right.
So that's going to be October 7th.
Yep.
And we love it. A few times in the years we've been doing Fright Club, we have had premieres
Yes.
of movies, and it's always fun. It's always fun to to be among the first to see something, especially that has a buzz like this. So
Yes.
we'd love to have you join us October 7th for the Piggy premiere
That's
and talk
right.
about the bullies and the mean girls. So that's coming up, and then we also want to talk about another big event that's coming up in October as part of Nightmares Film Festival. If you didn't know, one of the best film festivals on the planet is right here in our own backyard at Gateway. It's a fantastic horror film festival, and we are so honored to have our first feature film as part of it.
That's right. So come October 21st, which is Friday of the festival. We don't have a time set yet because they haven't finished programming the rest of the festival, so there will be a complete schedule at the end of this month to tell you what time, but we know for sure we will be in the evening on Friday, October 21st. Obstacle Corpse, our homecoming premiere, and we're super incredibly crazy geeked about it. So right now you can get VIP passes if you want to, and you should. They will sell out, and that gives you access to the entire festival. By the end of September, you'll be able to buy individual tickets. So if you just want to come see Obstacle Corpse, you can buy tickets to that then.
So exciting.
We're very excited.
It's going to be fun. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't believe we're that close to it. All right, so we got a movie to show. So again, come on down. Oh, I almost forgot to mention.
What?
Well, because I was going to give our all the places you can get a hold of us and keep the conversation rolling. You can always find us on Twitter at Fright Club Pod. Also, our main website is madwolf.com. You can always catch us every Friday morning on Good Day Columbus here in town, giving the movie reviews. Mad Wolf Columbus on Facebook and Instagram. And we also have a special Facebook group just for Fright Club. And all you have to, it's a private group, so just throw a request in there, and we'll get you in and have a lot of fun in there, too. So lots going on, lots of ways to get in touch. We hope you will. We'll talk about the movie after, and is that about it?
I think that it is.
I think that's about it. Okay, so we'll see you hopefully next month for Piggy and for Obstacle Corps and Nightmares Film Festival. It's a lot of fun. We hope you can make it. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club Podcast.
Stay frightful, my friends.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, enjoy the Black Coat's Daughter.